There is a sale at the Chichen store.
Wait, that's how you wanted to start this? That was not on the outline.
It's from the 1989 game from, I don't remember the company.
Like Hasbro?
Maybe. Mall Madness.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Well, because we're talking about shopping today in this episode.
Yeah, I guess we are, but not at the Chichen store.
Let me just quickly tell you, this is all I remember of the audio from this game, Mall Madness. My next door neighbor, her name was Lucretia. She and I played this a lot. I remember this particular audio clip because there was some kind of audio glitch, and it was supposed to say, there's a sale at the kitchen store, but instead it said, there is a sale at the Chichen store, and it just made us laugh so hard, and still to this day, I think about Mall Madness sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think about it at all. And that's where we're headed.
Oh my goodness. We are Red Weather Christians.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Jen. Welcome, you guys.
Yeah, here's a new episode.
Yes, here
or
we
show.
Go. Yeah, I do like the show. We have some friends going to see Hamilton this weekend. It's very exciting. So show's kind of on my mind. I'm a little jealous.
Okay, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about everything together. Anyway.
Okay.
This episode is about church shopping.
Or, in other ways, church marketing.
Yes, because if you think about it, churches have to draw you in. It's kind of like this, it's a weird consumeristic kind of thing that it's turning into.
Right, because Jesus just isn't good enough.
No. We need gifts for new visitors. We need some lights and great sound equipment and like spotlights. And I said lights, didn't I? You know, all the lights and
fog machines.
Colored lights. So Steve and I thought we would go back to our early days in Michigan again. Because if you remember, our podcast says this chronicles our disillusionment. And if you look up the denotation of the word chronicle, oh my gosh, you're such a jerk.
Oh, sorry. What?
So the denotation of the word chronicle is a telling of events in order. So that's why we're trying to do this in order, and we're still kind of going back to our early days of marriage. So in this Chronicles of Narnia,
oh, that didn't play out like we thought it would. There's no music.
No.
There's no red vines.
Oh gosh. If anybody knows that reference, you, my friends, get points. Well done. Moving on. As we chronicle our disillusionment, we're going to take you back to when we moved to Michigan and we started going church shopping.
Because, of course, we had to find and shop for something that we liked.
Yeah. I mean, shopping is all about us.
That's right. So, of course, that's what church shopping is. It's about us. What do we like? What do we want out of the church? And what are we looking for in the people of the church?
Yeah, and there were so many from which to choose. So many churches. They're everywhere. And so you do kind of get into that mindset that you have all these options in front of you and you get to choose. And so why wouldn't you take into consideration all the things that you like? Like, I wanted a church that wasn't too big, but that had a good music program and like a preacher who was, you know, fairly funny, but also there was depth, intellectual depth there as well.
I don't know what I was looking for.
Steve was along for the ride.
Honestly, I was usually drawing pictures on the bulletins or the Connect cards of really, really funny things, no matter where I was.
We have a few examples of that. I don't know if we should.
Look, I just have to say, one Connect card. They asked for my information. I happened to be Atreyu on that particular card, and they asked about my story. I politely said, it's never ending. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, I love it. You also drew a picture of that flying dog thing.
Yeah, Falcor.
Falcor.
Or Valcor.
Valcor. No, it's Valcor, I think.
Couldn't never really know. I was a kid.
If you are listening right now, friends, and you have no idea what we're talking about, we are talking about the classic film from the 80s?
80s.
From the 80s called...
The Never-Ending Story. I mean, I thought that was obvious.
Well, it is obvious, but...
Look, so much has gone into me remembering this movie that, yes, I can name it with Artax as the horse that, spoiler alert, he drowned in the nothing mud or whatever that was.
That scene scarred me for life.
Okay, so we're church shopping still.
Yes. And listen, there are so many options. I was thinking about this earlier and I was like, oh my goodness, churches need to come up with some kind of Tinder app for churches where you can look and see what the church is, what does it look like, but also a couple things about it and be able to just swipe, because I feel like that's the point that it's gotten. There are so many choices, and then people get in this mode, including us, of, well, I have to hold out and find the perfect one, I'm going to try a few, and then, I want to ultimately get the best one, my soulmate.
So we didn't visit too many churches when we were in Michigan. I kind of just defaulted going to where my parents were going, and that was all right, but it was big.
Yeah, and I grew up in a really tiny church, so it was a little overwhelming. Yes, I'm laughing because if you listen to that episode where we talked about how small my church was.
And it was totally fine. It's totally fine if it's small.
Yes.
Anyway, moving on. So we defaulted going to that church, and then we had some friends invite us to their church, and it's like, okay, we'll go to yours. No big deal.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll try them out. Try them on for size.
I don't remember if there was a visitor gift bag or something there. There probably was, maybe like a pen. I don't know. Mug. Anyway, some things happen in churches, and sometimes you need to leave it, or you decide whether you're going to stay and, help the church get through issues. Well, that happened in Michigan, and we decided to leave.
Yeah, we were those people. We're like, ooh, weird stuff is going on. See you later.
Right. And one of our friends, really good friends, he stayed. And that was great. And we were still friends.
Yeah. So that's always been kind of I don't know if I would call it a doubt or just a question that we had about being churchgoers. What is our responsibility in a church? And then what's the church's responsibility towards us? And how is that balanced out? Is church shopping even okay to do?
Yeah, that is a good question. Anyway, we went back to the big church that my parents were still at, and that was a fairly seamless transition because we went to that big church with some of our friends from the smaller church.
Yeah, so that worked out well.
And they had some good small groups, and we met some really great people there.
And I think when we look back on our church experience in Michigan and beyond, I think what we keep going back to is when we made friends in the church and then we hung out with those friends and made relationships. And that was a really important part of being in church for us, is the friends that we made and the relationships that we made in the church.
But when we moved to Florida,
dun, dun, dun,
things get a little weird.
So weird.
Let's just start with, we moved to Florida with nothing. We just went for a job. We didn't have a house. We just drove down there. We didn't have animals or kids, so it was pretty easy for us. But when it came to church shopping, we're like, well, I grew up kind of United Methodist. Maybe we'll try that one. They were a little too traditional. I was at a contemporary service with United Methodist when I grew up, so I didn't see all the robes and garb.
Yeah, all of the robes and the garb and the carrying of candles and I don't know what else they were carrying was a little strange to me. It was a little off-putting. I did not feel comfortable.
And their music was mostly old hymns.
And, just listen to us, like, complaining, kind of like, oh, well, we tried it out. It was making me feel a little uncomfortable. And so, it just wasn't right for us. So moving along. And I feel bad about that, kind of. But I don't really know what the correct approach to all of this is. Like, when there are so many churches available for you to attend, why wouldn't you go to a few of them, right?
Right. All right. So United Methodist Church, not going to happen. So we tried some others. It was a weird, like the whole fall season, settling in Florida, trying to find a church. We would still go to churches. We found one that we went to, 4 or 5 times because our friends had recommended it. We had been 4 or 5 times and there was really no connection at that point. So we decided,
see you later.
And we tried some other ones. So then we looked close to home. There were a couple of churches within a mile from our house. At this point, we actually had a house instead of living at the temporary motel.
It was so gross. It smelled so bad.
That was really more Florida than it was the motel.
Welcome to Florida. Everything smells like sewage.
And Jen's mom, unknowingly, but now affectionately.
Well, back up. So we affectionately started calling our little rent by week hotel room Stank Hole because it stank. And so this was when my mom was still alive. I was just on the phone with my mom and I was telling her like, oh, stank hole this and stank hole that. And she thought I was saying
Skank Hole.
So we were staying in Skank Hole.
Okay. Moving on. So we were in our house and we were going to churches within the near vicinity. And we went to this church. It was, I guess, in the fall-ish, maybe closer to Thanksgiving. I don't know. We got in there. We sat down. We were probably late because that was usually how I operated. And there was, for the sermon, a video.
Yeah. I don't really remember even what it was, but we were sitting kind of in the back because, yes, we were late. And, yes, that is a point of contention in our marriage because I like to be on time or early. And we gave it maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes. And it's just this, I think it was like a movie.
It was still this video. Don't know what it was about. It was super lame. I could have fallen asleep if you let me sit there a little bit longer.
So we decided instead of letting Steve fall asleep and start snoring, as he does, we would just get up and leave.
Yep. That's what we did. We actually got up and left in the middle of a service.
Yeah. So on our dating app, which way do you swipe when you don't like?
I don't know. I'm not on Tinder.
Oh, man. Well, neither am I.
Okay, you brought it up.
I don't even know if that's the right name.
I think it's swipe left.
For the swipe app.
Yeah.
Maybe other apps you swipe too, because swiping is a thing. But whatever way to reject is the way we swiped. So do we want to just say that that's a swipe left?
No, because I actually went back to that place.
Oh, you did?
So what happened, because Jen's mom was sick, she was out in California a lot for the weekends or a little bit longer, an extended weekend. And I was left to go to church by myself.
Have fun.
I went back to this church by myself because it's like, come on, maybe it was just that one Sunday they were showing a video and maybe it's a good place to be.
Yeah, and it was so close to our house. We're like, this would be awesome because we could just ride our bikes or even walk. It was very close.
Yes. So I went back. Things were relatively normal. It was uneventful until after the service. So after the service, I'm just trying to walk. I don't tend to usually give off the, hey, I'm super helpful and friendly vibe.
Oh, definitely not.
I don't know what it was about me that day. I was wearing a black leather jacket, probably jeans.
Black leather jacket?
Ooh.
Okay.
Anyway, I can't imagine that I was someone they thought went to their church and, oh, this someone must be super helpful. But I'm just walking out. I'm just walking out like normal, end of service, and this lady comes in, hey, come help me with communion. It's like, huh? Huh? What?
Oh, my goodness.
No, you just got to carry some of these things to the back with us. Huh? I'm still dumbfounded because deep down, I'll try to be helpful when I can. And here I now have thrust upon me like a stack of 6 of those, cylindrical communion platters. And she's like, yeah, just put them in the back. I was like, what? The back? Where's that? Where is it? In the back of the sanctuary? Is it at back of the foyer? I don't know where I'm going. She's like, oh no, just come with me. But meanwhile, she was like mingling still, but she just wasn't carrying it for whatever reason. And so there I followed her. Eventually we made it to the back, which was actually in the front of the sanctuary behind a door. Okay, yeah, I was going to find that on my own. And I set it down, and at that point, I walked out and never returned to this church except to vote.
Yeah, that was our voting spot.
Yes.
Oh, that is so strange. I wonder what she thought. Like, if she just mistaked you for somebody who actually works in the church and is a part of the church. I don't know.
Well, that happened at a different time. We went to a church in Florida. Again, most of these adventures were in our first year. We went to, we had gone to a Wesleyan church up in Michigan. So we thought, let's find a Wesleyan church down here in Orange Park, Florida. We went to the only one I could find on the map.
Yeah. It was a very small building. We're like, okay, that could be fine, And we walk in and wow, there are not a lot of people there.
And we went to the service. Service was, whatever. The music was, it was, Jen, you remember it.
It was a soundtrack. Like they put a CD into a CD player that was just up on the stage. And they just pressed play and they sang along with it. Did they have mics? I think they did have mics. So then their voices were a little too loud, and then you had the soundtrack. And I don't think it was even karaoke version. I think it had the actual voices on the CD as well. It was very strange.
We were singing along with Sandy Patty, for sure. For sure.
Oh, so many great references in this episode.
But what was really strange was what happened again after the service. The pastor I think it was the pastor. They approached us. And we're just like, visitors. So, of course, whatever, the pastor approaches us because we clearly stick out. Out of the 20 people in the crowd, we're 2 new ones.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, we're so sorry about the sound today. It'll get better. And we, you play an instrument, don't you? I was like, at the time, my instrument playing was pretty much relegated to the saxophone.
Sexy sax man.
But I didn't learn to play guitar yet. I wouldn't have given myself any sort of skills with the piano. I don't know what he was talking about.
Yeah, we were confused. We were like standing there holding our gift bags. Those were good gift bags, by the way.
I don't remember. I just remember one church. I don't remember which one. We got some old popcorn, tried to pop it. It was really bad.
Oh, yeah, with a little mini can of Coke.
No, a can of Coke was good. Popcorn, really bad. Anyway, they kept up this conversation about music and I don't know what instruments I could play kind of thing. And we finally figured out they were expecting someone to visit this church. They didn't know who it was. They had not met this person that was maybe going to audition or maybe become their music leader. Apparently, I had that look.
Yeah, and they were talking to us like they were expecting us and they knew who we were and all of these things. And we were so confused. And so we just kind of like politely exited the building. And we're just kind of looking at each other like, what just happened?
That's right. And we never went back.
Oh, God.
Again, we are talking about church shopping. And it's what we were doing. It's not necessarily a good thing. Okay, we've got our church that we found for at least the first 6 years we were there in Florida. We had driven by it and we'd seen that there was this church. And we're like, let's stop there one time. It's fairly close to our house. So we tried it. I might have tried it by myself when you were in California at some point. And I said, hey, this is pretty cool. They've got the lights.
They've got the lights.
And
the colored lights.
And the music was great. The crowd seemed young. Things that we were looking for.
Yes, it ticked off a lot of the boxes on our checklist.
And I'm pretty sure that's where the small can of Coke came from. Because I liked that. Anyway, we went to that church. We liked it. We stayed there for, like I said, 6 years or so.
And one thing that I liked about them is they did get out into the community a lot. And that's, say what you will, they're doing good in the community, but it's also marketing, like they're getting their name out there. So if people are kind of looking for a church and they see these very helpful humans with a church name on the back of their t-shirt, they might think, oh, maybe I should try that.
Yeah, so we were with them for a while. They ended up moving church buildings from a bikeable distance where they started to a drive, like a 12 to 15 minute drive away. And that eventually wore us down to be like, we didn't need to agree with everything they said, but it's a 12 to 15 minute drive.
Yeah, we didn't like that.
So we ultimately left the church, but it wasn't for any bad reason. And then we decided, okay, church number 1 that was closest to our house has already been crossed off the list. Church number 2, second closest to our house. It was in our community. So we get there, and their original slogan was, "It's about others." And that's where this disillusionment comes full circle. We had been shopping this whole time for a church that was about us. We'd been looking for the church that had the music for us, the people for us, the lights.
All the lights.
For us. And while we also visited some other churches at various times through our life, this was where we were disillusioned almost with ourselves. Like, what were we thinking all of those years?
Yeah, this is definitely one of those events in life where you turn inward and you realize, wow, this is a fault that I have. And not to say church shopping is bad, but the way we were going about it, where we were just trying to find all the things that ticked our boxes, like the dating app, the church app, where we were swiping left and right.
Not right.
Not right. Yeah. So as we started going to this church, I don't know, we like a lot of things about this church, but then there are definitely a few things that we do not agree with. And, I don't know what you would do on the dating app for that one, where you're kind of like, I guess we'll just try it out. And even though it's maybe not the perfect fit for me, we're going to try it out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure SNL had one of these. It's called the Settle app.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, you can look that up if you want. But basically, the idea was at some point, whether it's a relationship or a church, you settle.
Yeah, you do.
Now Jen might be saying this because that's what she had to do. There were no other suitors for her.
Oh my gosh, you are such a jerk. I had many suitors.
Absolutely not. And that's exactly how I got my first real date with her, not the one that she promised to go on and then just begrudgingly went with me. I said to her for Valentine's Day, you should eat dinner with me because you have no other options.
He honestly said that to me.
Yes.
And I married the guy. What?
Yes, she clearly settled. And this is how I win. Anyway, the point being that sometimes you just settle and it can be a really good thing, especially if what you're looking for is fellowship with other believers.
Yeah, that community, that togetherness, find some good friends, feel like you have a family. We felt like we had those things. But as we move on in life and in our faith, I like to go to the verse from 1 Corinthians 3:16. It says, "Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit lives in you?" And I like that as a reminder to us that the church building and the sanctuary and how they run their services, it might not all be to our liking, but I think that there are more important things when it comes to church, and that's fellowship and community and friends and relationships and, a spirituality element to that too, like especially when you worship together and sing songs and all of that. But just to remember, we ourselves are God's temple. So it's not about finding the perfect church.
But that's not to miss that very famous verse, don't even know the reference right now, but the one that says never give up meeting together. Okay, yeah, but it doesn't say never give up that denomination. It says never give up meeting together. Meet together. Get together with your fellow Christians. Have that thing in common. But it doesn't have to be that same church.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of the realization that we came to. No church is going to be perfect for us. We might have to settle a little bit, but as you do.
You did.
Okay. And maybe just remember that your identity does not have to be that of your churches. I don't think that will ever be the case for Steve and me, because we just won't ever find a church where we would feel comfortable linking our identity with. And that's one reason that we've decided that we probably will never place our membership officially in a church. I mean, that's probably going to be a little controversial for you Christians out there listening.
Okay.
If you're honest with yourself and you look at whatever they're called, the bylaws or whatever they're called.
Doctrines. Come on.
Doctrines of a church. And you can honestly sit there and say that you agree 100% with every single word written. That just seems a little weird to me.
Plus, I mean, why would you agree to a man-written statement of doctrines for this church when you've got the Bible already?
So there you have it, everyone. And that's a wrap.
Oh, you get to say it?
I edited out the other version where Steve said it.
This is ridiculous. I'm out of here.
All right. Well, it's been fun. We are Red Weather Christians.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Jen.
Leave no doubt unturned.
Until next time.
And that's a wrap.